Hey guys, so I wanted to make as brief as possible a video, and this is going to be to all of you guys who are having problems breaking barriers in your game, in your performance. It's to all of you guys who you feel anxiety and negativity when you play CS. You love the game and you really want to get good at it, but for some reason you have bad days and you have these bad feelings, like a bad situation happens, you miss some shots, and it makes you play worse, or you feel like you're letting your team down. All these kinds of things. Like if you're the guy that's getting negative emotions from playing this game, which is a competitive game, then this is for you. And I'm going to try to help you to reframe things in your mind so that you can have a better practices and a better approach to improvement, and so you can remove any anger or frustration with yourself or even others when you're playing the game. So first thing is, I briefly discussed the symptoms here of the problem. It's generally like negative emotions. And negative emotions can be very bad because, generally speaking, negative emotions are going to be the thing that really can break players. Because even top players have this problem where the pressure gets to you, and and it gets to you in a negative way because you don't feel the pressure as in, man, everything's on the line. This is so awesome. I'm so focused. Instead of that, it's like, holy shit, everything's on the line. If I fuck up right now, my entire team's gonna lose. We're gonna lose loads of money. Everyone's watching me. Oh my god, I can't screw up. And you want to try to avoid that, right? So this is kind of the process I want to take you through to try to help you to ever get into that frame of mind. That's what I want to try to do here, because this is kind of universal across all levels. Obviously, I'm going to throw this out first and foremost. If obviously, like, if you're a new player, or if you're anybody that doesn't have like tip top execution already, obviously, you always must put lots and lots of time into execution. And if you're a newer player, you have to spend a lot of time with your execution. You've got to spend a lot of time on deathmatch. You've got to spend a lot of time training your mechanics and your understanding of angles and crosshair placement, the mechanics of the game and the execution of the game. And of course, that's very important. And so, as an add-on to that, what I'm going to suggest before delving into decision making, which is what this video is really about, to help you guys figure stuff out, is I'm going to say that you want to create the most comfortable environment. You want to make sure your mouse is a good shape for your hand. You can spend a long time figuring this out. You want to make sure that it fits it aligns with the grip that you want to use. You want to make sure the mouse pad feels good and comfortable. You want to make sure the keyboard feels good and comfortable. And you want to make sure that your binds and your config feels good and comfortable, as well as your crosshair. General config and setup. Got to feel comfortable. It has to feel comfortable because in reality, that's all it really is. It's just you finding what feels good for you. And once it feels good for you, don't think about it anymore. Just cast this out of your mind. Do not just change your crosshair for no reason. There's almost no reason to do it. There's almost no reason to do it. I used to challenge myself every time I would feel like I was wanting to change my crosshair or something back in the old Quake days when I was trying to be a very top level player. I would just say to myself, you know what? I committed to using this. I know that I'm just bitching out in my mind here. I'm finding an excuse. Sometimes it's nice to play fresh, but I would advocate that you should only do this after a break from the game. And the reason for that is because after a break from the game, you've taken yourself out of the swing of things. You're approaching everything from a fresh mindset. So you just approach it with as clean a slate as you can and get a new feeling to the game. You don't want the old stagnant feeling. And so you kind of rob yourself of this potential to have a break and come back with a new feeling if you change stuff all like every week, and when you're actually not within this, not having a break. And I would always have these periods of like playing like a week or two or maybe even some months of a break, come back with a completely new setup and config. And I would take a week or two, maybe even 2 or 3 weeks, messing around with stuff on death matches, figuring out all of my, all of my new feeling for the game. Maybe even I'd start using acceleration, just all different types of stuff. But anyway, right, so comfort. Once you establish the comfort, make sure that you're not bitching out and just changing it for the hell of it, because that's not why you're playing bad. Okay, so now we've talked about that. We're going to remove this. We're not going to talk about execution mechanics, all this kind of stuff. That can be another video. Now this is a very different beast. We're going to talk about decision making, and you can separate like the theory of the game in these two ways. It's execution and decision making. So decision making, this is really going to help you create a scale for your own skill. Instead of thinking, just being on the jury of your peers, essentially, of how good you are, or your matchmaking rank, which obviously, and I can explain why later, isn't really a good judge anyway. You can just make your own scale of how good you feel you are. And once you've done that, that helps a lot to deal with some of these negative emotions. and to deal with what is the crux often of the issue, which is outcome orientedness. I made a video on this previously, and maybe I'll rehash it sometime in the future. You don't want to be outcome oriented here, because you cannot, like, you are not the sum of the outcome. You're never the sum of the outcome. You are not. You can't think this way, even if there is evidence to suggest that it's true. And the reason is because you don't want to be stuck in that frame of mind, because you want to be making the best decisions. You do not want pressure and outside influences to affect you too much, or at least negatively. Obviously, there'll be spots where pressure will affect you, but you want to make sure that your decision making is tip top, because you can always control your decision making. You can always go and make a decision. Execution, lots of different factors can affect that. And the thing is that you can't really, like, even top players sometimes are going to mess up their execution. It just happens sometimes. Like, even no matter how much practice you do, sometimes it happens. So why think about it? Let's think about the thing that we can control. That's the decision. You always want to be looking back and being like, okay, ignore the result. Would I make that decision every single time? If you answer yes, because of your, with a lot of studying of the game and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, I would make that decision every time, then maybe okay, you don't have to worry about it. You can just. That's fine. Just leave it there. That's all. You make that decision every time. There's no improvements necessary to be made. But it's not as simple as that, because a lot of people fall into the trap where they do this in the middle of the game. They're like, oh shit, that went badly there. I think I need to do this differently. Or something went really well. So like, oh, that was good. I should do that again. You can't really objectively do this, because your emotions are tied into what happened in the situation. And also you don't have a great picture or an understanding, because you're not looking at it you can't be looking at it from the best way, because you're looking at it from your perspective at that time when something happened. And even if you go back into the demo and ignore, let's say, the perfect information, because obviously in the demo you can see the X-ray, all this kind of stuff. But if you ignore all that extra information, you will actually be looking for other stuff that you could already actually see in the game itself. So you're not getting any extra information, but you're just looking for information in a different way. And this obviously makes a big difference. There's many times that I've had a situation where I was sure that this was the problem, or that this was really good. I go back to the demo and I'm like, holy shit, I was completely wrong. And a lot of the times it's because you're emotionally connected. And there is this idea also in poker as well. And this is actually where I first came across the concept, and I've talked about it a few times here. And I repeated it a few times because it's so important, and it's so important. Like, so that in poker you can have a strategy. Let's say you're going to run this strategy in cash games over the course of 20,000, 60,000, 100,000 hands, and you run this strategy, and because it works, or you think that it works, you're testing it out, you think it works, and it makes you money. It's a strategy, and generally you find it to be plus EV or whatever the hell it is, and you apply it over these course of hands. However, you get to like the 10,000 mark or something, and you're starting to like lose a lot of money. And then all of a sudden, like, you think that you're still applying the same strategy, but in reality, for a lot of people, they'll find that actually, unless they review their hands, and this is why you need to review demos, you can actually betray your entire strategy and the long game that you were planning for, because you are emotionally attached to the money. So you're losing money, and of course it's poker, so you're playing for the long game anyway, but in the immediacy, you're losing money, so you're like feeling bad about that. And subconsciously, you're getting tighter and taking decisions, or rationalizing decisions that you otherwise wouldn't have rationalized to, or rather, you wouldn't have decided, or even it wouldn't have crossed your mind, to take. But you're rationalizing it now because you want to rationalize a reality where you're kind of not losing as much money because you're kind of playing tighter now. So you're betraying the strategy, and you're playing like a bitch. You're being a bitch. So basically, like, because you're not watching demos. So that is a very important lesson to learn. This is why watching demos can be so crucially important, because you're not emotionally attached when you review a hand. You're not emotionally attached when you watch a demo. When you're doing either, you're looking for the strategy you should be doing, or you're looking for what went wrong. You can actually analyze it objectively, and that is so important. And so not only is it important to make sure that you actually know what went wrong, but it's to actually get more understanding so you can implement improvements in your game in the future. Once you've done this, you can have this situation where, in reality, something messed up happens. You don't feel bad about it because you missed the shot, but you put yourself in the right position. You feel good about that. You feel great about that. But you know what? Like, there's so many times when, even in its very top level, you have a very high stress situation, lots of pressure, and there's a player who is feeling all this pressure on him. He doesn't make the best call, which is very risky because he doesn't feel like he's going to hit the shot because you've been losing loads of rounds. Now, this is the thing. You want to try to remove this, remove the possibility that you can even be getting yourself into situations like this because you haven't hit a shot in a lot of the moments. And the thing about, and so you're like, you don't know what it feels like to hit a good shot anymore. This happens a lot, and it happens a lot. It knocks your confidence going into a decision you should be making, but you don't, because you're like, well, I don't think I should make the decision. And instead of just boom going for the decision, no hesitation, you wait too much. And then even if you wait that much time and then go for the decision because you hesitated already, you're going to be too late to the position, and you're going to the advantage won't be there. And now it's the wrong decision for that moment because it should have happened instantly. So this stuff is like pretty deep actually, and you got to be very careful about this stuff. And of course, if you're thinking in the right ways, then, and always thinking about the decision and not the execution, then you should be able to help yourself. Because the other thing you'll be doing is you're going to be imagining, you're going to be visualizing. This is a very powerful tool when it comes to competing in any kind of sport. You're already visualizing, and the reason is because you very likely know what decision you're going to make or what you should be making a little bit ahead of time. So you're already ready. You already visualized it. You're already ready. You can see it in your mind's eye. So it allows you to kind of connect more with the subconscious, which allows you to really like hit the zone, which allows you to really just go out and hit the shot. Because the thing that happens when your confidence is knocked and when you're doubting yourself because you don't feel the decisions in the right way, it's you start to get in your head. You start to get in your head. You start to really bring yourself into your conscious. And anyone who's been in the zone in a game knows that it feels like you're not even thinking, and it feels like you see stuff before it happens, or you see it. It's like you know what's going to happen. You're clairvoyant. You know what's going to happen. Then it happens in front of your eyes. And so the more you bring yourself into the conscious self, the more the anxiety hits you, the more pressure you feel on the outcome, the less that's going to be happening to you. And the very best players in the world are the ones that rise to the pressure and focus more because of it, and it enhances their ability to make the right decisions and to just play off their gut, because it's instead of the opposite. And it's very difficult. This is one of the hardest things for even people at the top level, but it's good. It's a very good practice to try to understand the game and try to put heavy emphasis on making the right decisions. And making your instead of having the instant gratification coming from hitting great shots, have the instant gratification coming from, man, I'm making the right decision right now. That feels good. You want to try to reframe it like that, because that is your scale as a good player. That is your scale of a good player. And now you're probably thinking, okay, how am I supposed to know what a good decision looks like? How am I supposed to go back into a demo and analyze this stuff? Well, obviously this is a very big topic as well. So I'll make a video on this to try and help people and just show you my approach. Obviously, like, everyone can have a different approach to this. I've been doing this for a long time, and it's obviously a lot of my videos are based upon me just going into demos and just looking at things that I find interesting and looking at the game and being like, that's cool, that's interesting, applying my fundamentals of CS and how I view them, and then finding conclusions. I can help you to do it through my method and my eyes, and that might be quite helpful to some people. But generally speaking, I'm sure everyone has a different approach to this. But there you go. So this is the thing. This is the video. This is it. That's it. Right there. You got to go back and watch demos. Go back and watch demos. Grow your understanding of the game. Grow your ability to make better choices, and you will then also not feel the pressure of the ranks. You'll not feel the pressure of people judging how good you are or saying your shit. And when you do let your team down, it's always going to feel bad because you missed that shot. But you know what? It's not going to ruin your game, the next game. You're not going to get into this horrible funk because this happens all the time. People get into a funk, like bad stuff's happening, they get into the funk. No one wants to make any calls, no one wants to make any decisions, no one wants to do anything because they're in a funk. They're feeling sorry for themselves, and they lost the will to win because they're just too busy feeling sorry for themselves. So don't be that person. Don't get into a funk. Watch some demos, and I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one, whatever it will be, and I promise I will make that video about how to analyze demos, at least for me, so that maybe if this resonated with you and you're struggling with that, I can help you out there as well. So all right, guys, catch you later.